Heyo everybody, Haku here with the first of 3 challenge videos. This one is from Nya D Hemmingz. I'll leave a link to the original video and everything of the comments in all 3 of these, but I'm going to separate them into 3 videos. So first one's from Nya, and this one is what Tower of God lore event do I want to see? I guess just get an actual flashback scene and physically see it within the manhwa itself. And I feel so bad because in Nya's video he's like, oh, I bet Haku will have a good creative answer for this, and I have 2 kind of like creative answers that I thought of, but first, like the true answer is just really a generic one, but I feel like it's one of those things where it's like you ask somebody, oh, what's your favorite One Piece arc, and they answer like the same 2 or 3 arcs, and it's like, that's because those same 2 or 3 are good, and there are just a lot of good answers to this, but because of that, it's like the best answers are kind of already taken because they're good answers. And so yeah, the true answer for me is a really generic one, and that's just Eurasia Ends capture. Eurasia Ends capture, I want to see what it was like how strong or how hype were Uni or Rebecca Ponzahard, because they died during all this. We get to see their deaths. We get to see Misheni and Pondo. And here's the thing, Misheni's strong and all, but Eurasia Ends like top 10, so it's like, how... And we see Misheni like even had to use like subversive means to capture Jinsung and stuff, so it's like, I want to see how Misheni was in this battle and all that. And there's like the Hace might have been there, which of course, if that's in the lore that Hace might have been there, Hace was there. We know that Hace declined to take one of the 13-month series, so was Hace just like super hype and actually really highly ranked as well, and she came in and was a big part of the fight, and it was kind of covered up. Zahard himself might have actually been involved, but he was at the very least involved in her being sealed away. It is so cool. It's just a good answer. It's a generic answer, but it's a good answer. And also there's the fact that Garam said that 5 princesses, I think, had been executed before after going insane because of the 13-month series. So if 5 had been executed before because of going insane, it's crazy that Eurasia N, with all that she knew, wasn't executed and was sealed away with the colorless December. It's so interesting, and that entire story makes me want to see more of it physically happen. But because that is such a boring generic answer, I did also think about 2 others that I really do want to see. The first is the tragedy of the first princesses. We know that all of the first generation of princesses killed each other, and that it was called an incident, so I'm assuming that it's not like, oh, something that happened over the course of hundreds of years. It was called an incident, and Garam said that it was manipulated by Zahard behind the scenes, so I guess maybe there was just one battle, one incident, one thing that happened where all of the 13 original princesses that had the 13 months all died at the same time, and I want to know what happened there. Again, there was the theory that I had that maybe the spirits of the 13-month series are the original 13 princesses. The wording specifically was that they were consumed by the evil magic of the 13 months and hated each other, but the ghost of the 13 months only takes over when you try to ignite 2 at the same time, so that really wouldn't explain why all of them, the original princesses, were kind of taken out all at once seemingly. So again, that's another one. I want to see whatever the incident was that Zahard manipulated in secret behind the scenes to cause all of the original princesses to take each other out. Plus, we know that the ghost of the 13 months was one of the people who was a candidate to become one of the original princesses but wasn't selected. So she's like the 14th that wasn't selected maybe, and then we have the 13 that were selected as the originals that all got taken out. I kind of would like to see what the deal is with that. And the other answer that I had actually is, again, I don't want to relate all my answers back to Grace Merchia Lezlek, but I want to see what Grace Merchiel-Lezlec's reaction was upon finding out that Viol had re-entered the tower. Because here's the thing, Lezlec and Jinsung and Yuhan Sung, Waryun, there were only a small few members of FUG that knew that Bomb/Viol was an irregular. The rest just knew, oh, this guy's the new Slayer candidate, but they didn't know that he was an irregular. Only a small few knew about that. And in addition to only a small few knowing about that, I have to thank the rest of FUG, because Grace Merchiel-Lezlec gave him the name Juvial Grace, which, again, we could kind of maybe predict that that might be his original name given to him by Vian Arlen, but because Lezlec, the leader of the organization, gave his family name to this new regular Slayer candidate, what did the rest of FUG think about that? Like, I want to know what it's like, because, again, Lezlec's been, for what, thousands of years maybe, holding the fort down since Vi and Arlen are gone, and keeping up the sort of spirit of rebellion against the 10 great families. So what's it like when we could assume that he probably knew about the Arlen prophecy as well? What's it going to be like when he finds out that this irregular entered the tower, and he's like, that's Vi and Arlen's kid, he's back to life and whatever? Like, what was the weirdness going on there? Because Gustang knew when Gustang met Bomb that, like, on Floor of Death, he was like, you're the child of Ian Arlen. And then when we see Zahard at the end of Floor of Death, he's like, I thought I killed you. So he recognizes him. We don't actually know if, because Traumeré calls him Bomb. He doesn't call him Viol or anything. He hasn't mentioned Vi or Arlen, at least that I can remember. So Traumeré might not actually know. I mean, Zahard realized as soon as he saw him, he's like, but that means that before, because we know from what Traumeré said that Zahard knew there was a new irregular. But if he's like, wait, I thought I killed you before, when he shows up at Floor of Death, then that might imply that before Floor of Death, he didn't know that Bomb was Vi and Arlen's child. Or maybe he's just saying that because it's a cool line. Man. So yeah, that's interesting. I want to know more about that. Yeah, generic, basic answer, but that's like my true answer. I want to see the capture of Eurasia N, but 2 second place answers has to be the incident that killed the first generation of princesses, and or Grace Merchiel-Lezlec finding out that there's a new irregular in the tower and that it's Vi and Arlen's child. I want to see what it was like for him to find that out after all this time of waiting. So yeah, those are my trio of answers here. Yeah, kind of a long video, but I kind of wanted to explain some of my guesses and why I want to see them so much. But yeah, huge thank you to Nya D Hemmingz for the video prompt here. Again, going to be linking his original video down in the description, and right after this I'm going to be recording my responses to Ryzen 4K and to Milios, their video challenges. So I'm going to be doing both of those, at least for right now. Not going to be doing my own challenge because everybody else has all these to answer, and I don't want to just throw more on top of that immediately right now. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. I think all three are really good questions that made me kind of think a lot, because it was, the earlier prompts were a little easier, where I'm like, my own prompt that I threw out, I'm like, yeah, what character from the lore do I want to see? Or the original prompt that came from Nya, right, where it was, which character do I want to see again, or do I miss the most? It's like, okay, that's a pretty easy one to answer, but I feel like these three prompts made me think a lot more. I had to actually, like for this one, for the events, I'm like, Tower of God wiki, go to the timeline, what's on the timeline? But yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you to everyone for watching and everything. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that. Follow on Twitter, all the things I usually say, or join up on Discord, ask for a link if you want to join there and talk there. If you want to help support the channel on Patreon, it's patreon.com/Haku of the Tubes, or a link will be in the description. That's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.